Hello, everybody. I wish I was there. I wish I could see your guys' faces. But yesterday I started to feel a little bit under the weather, so we decided that it would be better if I stayed home and didn't potentially infect the entire third year class. So I'm going to do this from home. All right. So today I'm going to talk a little bit about how um, I specifically like to de-stress and how I've managed stress kind of throughout my life and in residency. And I hope there are some people out there that get this reference of my title page. And if you don't get it, then we can't be friends. Okay, let's see. There we go. Okay. Okay, so welcome to your 2 p.m. Wednesday Surge Pod shift. It's a Wednesday, so you expect things to be pretty busy as they usually are after conference. You walk in and set your things down, say hi to the attending that's going to be signing out to you, and he just looks at you and shakes his head and says, "That was a super busy shift. I saw like 20 disaster tent patients, and I'm not ready to sign out." So you take a look at the board and you see that there are 2 patients in surge waiting to be seen. You go see those patients, come back, put some orders into the computer, and the attending says he's ready to sign out. He hands you a list of 18 patients, and sign out takes about 45 minutes to an hour maybe. And you take another look at the board and see that they've just put 2 patients in AC, an 11A and 11B, and 1 in the disaster tent. It's a Wednesday, so you don't have a junior. So you assign yourself to all these patients and head over to AC. You're about halfway through interviewing a patient in AC, and you get a call from a charge nurse. You're getting a vented patient from Retchie Canyon, ETA 2 minutes. Sounds like they're short of breath and hypoxic. So you run over, get ready for this patient. Patient rolls in, you assess and stabilize, and head to your computer to put in some orders. You take another look at the board before heading back to AC and see that they just put 2 more patients in disaster tent and another one in AC. And the charge nurse lets you know that there's also a shorter breath coming into surge 4. Fast forward 5 hours of this running back and forth between surge, AC, disaster tent, and it's now 30 minutes before sign out and you haven't done a single MDM. You take a look at the board and you see that they just put 2 new patients in 11A and 11B, and they look stable, and you feel kind of bad about it, but you decide that these patients can wait for the night team. The 10 p.m. team rolls in, they say hi, put their things down, and you just look at them and you shake your head and you say, "That was a super busy shift and I'm not ready for sign out." Eventually you sign out, go home. If you're a Musa, it's 3, 4, 5 hours later. And that's the end of your day. And I'm sure this sounds all too familiar to most of us. I don't need to tell you how hard residency is, how busy our work, our lives are. And we all have different ways that we like to de-stress. For Michi, it's singing. For Kevin, it's investing. For Corey, it's hiking. For Musa, it's probably online shopping on the Adidas website. But for me, there's nothing that makes me de-stress like taking a trip. And when I go on vacation, I really like to go on vacation. I want to take a flight somewhere far away, somewhere new that I haven't been before. And I've been pretty lucky. I've been able to travel quite a bit. It's kind of early on in my life. I decided it was something that I wanted to invest any free time or any spare change, whatever money I saved, I wanted to put that towards traveling and just see as much as possible. And I actually got the travel bug when I was 14. I went to Italy with my high school choir on a choir trip. And ever since then, I've just kind of been obsessed about how I can go back or see new places. So I use an app called Ben, which is kind of fun. It's an interactive app that helps me keep track of where I've been and where I want to go. And these are some countries I've traveled to. If you just paid attention to my Instagram, you would think that all of my trips are full of fun things like going to a James Bond theme party in Monte Carlo, sitting on the cliffs of Moher, and skiing in the Swiss Alps. But the story behind these pictures is we were actually denied access into the Monte Carlo because I was wearing flip-flops and wasn't allowed in. And then the skiing, actually took my first lift up and sitting on the mountain and just panicked and sat on the top of the mountain for an hour while all my friends skied down because I just was way out of my league and thought for sure I was going to tear my ACL. So there's a lot of hidden stories that you definitely don't see on Instagram. So I thought I would share some travel tips. Oh, and so for those that don't know, my whole class calls me Kiki. So these are Kiki's essential travel tips. And they're not so much tips as just really embarrassing stories that have happened to me. And hopefully they're a little funny and maybe they'll stick in your brain and you won't make these same mistakes. So tip number one, don't forget to leave yourself plenty of time to recover before your next shift. So I went to Switzerland in March of second year, and it was a 6-day trip, and I timed it so that I would land at LAX at 11 p.m. And then the next day I had a 5 p.m. county shift. I thought that was plenty of time to drive home, sleep all day, and then go to my shift. And everything went well. I landed on time. Went home, went to bed. Next thing I know, I woke up in a panic because I looked at my phone. I had 20 missed texts from Alex Lair and Mark Schaefer, who were the Chiefs last year. I had a bunch of missed calls from Christina Kyle and a text that said, I am coming to your apartment right now. Also missed calls from Michi and Corey and a bunch of people trying to get a hold of me. Why? Because it was 7:30 p.m. and my shift started at 5. Really, really bad move. I was super jet lagged and I don't know what happened. But from now on, as a rule, I have to give myself 24 hours between landing and a shift. Even then, if you're traveling between time zones, I would maybe give yourself more time because you don't want to end up like me. When I showed up to my shift, the county attendings either didn't notice or didn't care and everything was fine, but not something that I want to repeat again. Another tip, don't book 2 connecting flights with different airlines. So I'm usually trying to find budget. I book with like budget airlines and I usually try to get pretty creative to save money. So one time I went to Ireland. This was March of first year, and I mixed and matched. So I booked a Southwest flight from LAX to SFO, and then I had a flight with WOW Airlines, which now does not exist. But I had a flight with WOW from SFO to Dublin, and it was like 4 hours later. So I got to LAX with plenty of time, and it was a cloudy day, a little drizzly. I checked in to find out that Southwest just canceled all of their flights for the day because of fog. So I started panicking and running around LAX, literally from airline to airline, seeing if there's anyone that could get me to SFO within the next 45 minutes. I found a United flight that was taking off soon, and I thought I could make it. I bought this flight just, at the counter and got on the plane, and then we proceeded to sit on the tarmac for an hour and a half. So I completely missed that flight to Ireland, and the plan was for me to meet John, my boyfriend, in SFO, and we were gonna go to Ireland together. And so we had kind of just decided that I wasn't gonna make it, and he should just go to Ireland, and I was gonna try to figure out some way to get there. I was going to San Francisco, and I would just find a way to get to Ireland. So I made it to San Francisco. I think I landed like 5 minutes after that flight that I was supposed to be on took off. And this is where I sat for like 8 hours while I was trying to find a flight to Ireland. And eventually I did find a direct flight. But of course, WOW Airlines didn't reimburse me. So it worked out, but it was a really, really stupid $1,300 mistake that I paid for immensely. Third tip, don't take your passport with you into Starbucks. Don't take your passport with you anywhere that you don't need to. This was actually one of my first trips that I took before med school. I went to Europe with one of my best friends, Danny, and we went to Barcelona. And I thought I was really smart because I bought one of those bags that go across your chest and you put it under your coat and you put your important valuables like your passport in there. And so I had one of those. But the stupid part is that I also put my money in there. And we went to a Starbucks, of all places, in Spain, which is dumb. Don't go to Starbucks when you're in Europe. But anyways, went to Starbucks, bought a drink, and then when I pulled out my money, obviously I exposed my passport. And then by the time I'd made it out of the Starbucks, I realized my passport was gone. And this was day like 3 of our trip. And I was panicked. I thought for sure I was not going to be allowed to go back to the United States. Going to miss my flight, which was the next day. But luckily there's an embassy there, and it was surprisingly easy to get another passport. They had me literally swear on a Bible that I was who I said I was, because I had no other form of identification at all. But they're like, okay, yeah, she seems legit. So they printed me out a passport, a temporary passport that lasted 6 months. Within a couple hours, it did cost $200. So I've learned my lesson. I don't bring my passport. I put it somewhere safe. There's no reason to bring it. And just don't be dumb like me and get your passport stolen day 3 of your Europe trip. And then I thought I would just throw in something maybe practical that, if for those of you wondering about travel credit cards, there's a lot of them. And I'm sure Mark Thomas can give you like a 2-hour lecture on this. But my favorite is the Chase Sapphire Reserve. I've used a lot. It has a higher annual fee, but the benefits end up really offsetting that, in my opinion. So you do get the 300 annual travel credit. So at all of the flights, Airbnb, hotel, Ubers that you book are automatically refunded. So that takes it out of the annual fee. You get TSA pre-check. You get access to all the lounges at the airports, which definitely comes in clutch. So this is my choice of a travel credit card. And if you like to travel, you should definitely look into one of them. And then just some honorable mentions that I won't go in the backstory, but don't accidentally book a manual car when you have no idea to drive stick. In Europe, everyone drives manual. You have to specify. And this is kind of a do your research. Don't go on a hike in Iceland without looking up what you're getting into, or else you might end up in the middle of a 20-mile hike over an icy mountain with soaking wet clothes and only a can of Pringles. Okay, and so I can't talk about de-stressing without talking about my cat, who I love. So this cat literally ran into my apartment one day after a 30-hour VA MICU shift. Opened the door and the cat just zoomed in. Never saw it before. And I was way too tired to do anything about it, so I just went to bed. And an hour and a half later, or an year and a half later, he's still here. I did take him to the shelter to see if I could find his owner. He has a microchip that ended up being like a dead end. So he was someone's cat. But fun facts about my cat, he is a polydactyly cat. So he has 6 toes on each paw, which is why I named him Polly D. He also has asthma, so I put prednisone into his food every morning. And he has gained like 5 pounds, I think, from that. He also really likes to eat crunchy things. His favorite snacks are goldfish and Cheez-Its. And he has made such a big difference, I think, in my mental health and wellness during residency. It's just so much fun to have something to cuddle and like throw. He plays fetch, so I can play fetch with him after shift, and it's great. And as much as I love to travel and as much as I love to just get out of here when I can, it's also, it's just as important, probably more important, to be present in what's going on here. And if I was traveling all the time, I wouldn't have been able to make such strong bonds with my co-residents. And this is really everything to me. My advice for the second and first years would be to just lean on your co-residents and really put in the time to make memories. And it's over too fast and it's super sad. And I know I'm starting to get really sentimental about all this stuff, but this is really everything to me. And this is why I was able to get through residency. So that's it for me.